Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Well, all this continuing uncertainty over Brexit has spread right across Europe. In the Netherlands, businesses exporting to the UK are warning that long border delays could prevent fresh produce from getting to shops quickly, leading to empty shelves. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Jonathan Rugman has been to Rotterdam, Europe's biggest port, to talk to Dutch exporters and to one British company which has moved there.
The pallets of fruit and veg whizzing about this Dutch warehouse are destined for Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Asda and Lidl, with around 30% of the UK's food imported from Europe. And with nobody knowing if Boris Johnson can strike a Brexit deal by the end of next month, Dutch businesses, like their British counterparts, are feeling paralysed by uncertainty. This company is exporting fewer of these pallets to the UK than it did a year ago because it says some Dutch growers have pulled out of the British market, believing it to be more trouble than it's worth. But the biggest concern here is the amount of time it takes for this fresh produce to reach supermarket shelves in Britain. And it's feared that the time could double. Daily Fresh has spent hundreds of thousands of euros planning for a no-deal Brexit. And although Parliament has legislated against that outcome, it may have only delayed it, which means import tariffs and new border checks at British and Dutch ports. This scenario of possible shortages of food in British shops, is that a real scenario or is that some sort of scaremonger?
I think that is a real scenario, yeah. I think there will be some days of empty shelves in the UK, yeah. I think supply chain really has to get used to the new way of working after Brexit.
Merci.
And customs officers will have to get used to it too. In Calais yesterday, French officials were rehearsing their response to a no-deal Brexit scenario, having spent €6 million to recreate a frontier with the UK which had all but disappeared. The French say they're confident they can cope, though a freight industry source told us the port was prepared to wave cargo through for up to 1 month if the checks on day one risk causing chaos. In the Hook of Holland, the Dutch have built this overflow car park for lorries which could be turned back from the port if they don't have the correct paperwork. Parliament's attempt to get Boris Johnson to ask for a Brexit extension beyond October does at least give European haulage firms more time to prepare. But the traffic isn't all one way. The UK is Holland's biggest foreign investor, with hundreds of British firms now talking to the Dutch government about moving here. On the first floor of a Rotterdam office block, this is the board meeting of Vitesse PSP, which operates a business-to-business bank payment system worldwide.
I think as long as we've got it for the Brexit situation.
18 months ago, it moved its HQ here from London at the cost of over £1 million to give its customers the certainty of European banking regulation. Isn't a move like yours ultimately going to put British people out of a job?
Inevitably, over time, it will do. As we grow, when we have part of our workforce here and we have part of our workforce in the UK, that means that there are people in the UK that have not got the opportunity to get those jobs.
But this chief executive and most of his staff still live and work in the UK. But you must admit there hasn't been a mass exodus of financial services people from the UK to Europe. I mean, lots of companies haven't left.
No, they haven't. And I think it will be interesting to see when we finally get a result, whether it's going to be a hard Brexit or a soft Brexit, which of those businesses that didn't move are going to be affected. And there will be a lot of businesses that will be affected.
British inward investment doesn't ease the pain of Dutch exporters. Royal Lemkes is Europe's biggest supplier of plants, sending 50,000 of them to the likes of B&Q and IKEA every week. 8 people here have been tasked with preparing for Brexit, though despite the can-do spirit, nobody knows what kind to expect.
This is our holy Brexit flow.
Your holy Brexit flow?
Yeah, so the single point of truth.
Unless there's a transition period, the supply chain director says the 9 current checks and stages for each delivery could more than quadruple to 40.
So in principle, for a normal order today to UK, we need this first part and then we need this last part. And everything in between is something extra for Brexit.
Right, so these are the new stages of compliance that you have to go through.
Yeah.
How much more to your business does all that cost?
So the duties that we have to pay to the UK government for importing plants are not decided yet on. Depending on the outcome of Brexit, it costs more than 5 till 20% on the cost price of a plant.
So your customers don't know how much to charge for the plants because they don't know what your costs are.
That's true.
So if I go into a garden centre in, I don't know, a few months' time, are you saying some plants will be 20% more expensive?
Yeah, that's true.
By the time these pumpkins are out for Halloween on October the 31st, either Brexit will be agreed or Parliament could force the Prime Minister to go back on his word and postpone it. The government talked today of simplified import procedures, of goods flowing across borders without duty being paid. But until and unless there's a new free trade agreement after Brexit, nobody really knows how European ports and exporters will be affected, or the costs that British consumers could ultimately pay. Jonathan Rugman, Channel 4 News, the Hook of Holland.